Look, man, the first thing I have to say is that's a penalty every day. I don't want to hear anything about that not being a penalty. That's a stonewall pen, right? That's textbook, by the rule book. Any era of football, that's a penalty, right? I think we can all agree on that. With that being said, I don't think this game was won or lost only on that penalty. I think, if I'm being honest, I think Liverpool should have won this game by the way they were performing in the second half. But then, if you look at the whole 100 minutes, you could also say City was better. So you could tell how even this game was. With that being said, let's kind of break it down, okay? Liverpool won, Manchester City 2. And if you look at this momentum bar, this is how it felt, right? Like City dominated, dominated that first half. They came into Anfield, and to be honest, when you look at this lineup, I was thinking this was not City's best 11. I was like, is this really what they're gonna, come to Anfield with? You know? But hey, the way they were moving that first half completely vindicated this choice. They were creating chances after chance, and honestly, City should have been up really early. Holland had a big chance, missed that. But well, it was a good save by Alisson. I can't say he just missed the chance. It was a good save by Alisson, and Kirk has also had a lot to do with clearing that out. But City should have been up early. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, if City doesn't kill off this game, Liverpool are going to come back, being at Anfield and whatnot. But that whole half, really, City were in firm control. And then whatever Arne Slot said at halftime must have really kicked Liverpool into gear because they came out of halftime blazing. They were creating chance after chance. And then that made me think, okay, now Liverpool has to kill this game off because all these chances and you're not scoring yet. This is not great. Football 101, right? The number one rule of football in any game of football that's been won or lost is that you need to kill the game. You need to take your chances. If you don't kill the game will kill you. The other team will take their chance. So you have to take yours. Let's get back to it. It's getting late in the game, 70-ish minutes, and it's like, man, like one of these teams have got to kill this game off. I don't want another 0-0 draw between the two. And out of nowhere, well, it wasn't out of nowhere because it's a free kick, but Szoboszlai, my goodness, what a worldie! That free kick, by the way, unguardable, unguardable. Like when you're a goalie and you're in that middle and the way the ball was placed like in the middle and it's so hard. You're in no man's land, and when you hit that swerve, you know what I mean. My swerve, let me not. But I was gonna sing that that Leangelo song, but that's not the point, right? The swerve that he got on that thing, it's unguardable. I genuinely love watching free kicks like that. It's crazy. Szoboszlai has gotten so good at that. It's like, is your name even Szoboszlai or is it Juninho, bro? Like that was incredible. But yeah, so he scores that free kick, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, I think Liverpool are gonna pull this off. I think, when you look at the history, City do not really win at Anfield like ever. You know what I mean? Like I think they won during lockdown a few years ago, and that was it. They don't win at Anfield. It's a really bad record. I think maybe Flop Mob might even have it. If you if you filter this to home, they've won once in their last 21 matches at Anfield. Incredible, incredible record. Now it's twice, of course, but you look at that and you're like, yeah, Liverpool are gonna get away with this, surely. But then, man, Bernardo Silva. I don't remember who crosses this ball. I think maybe it was Cherokee or something. But Holland gets on the end of it and he heads it down. And Bernardo Silva, still smart as ever, still as crafty as ever. This man, Bernardo Silva, came into the league, what, 2018, 2017, from Monaco. And he's been running the league ever since. Is that not incredible? This guy's what, 30 something, 32? He's 31 years old. he's been so consistent his whole career. Man, you just got to give him his flowers because whether he's playing on the right, whether he's playing in midfield. I think he had a stint at like cornerback or not cornerback, sorry, center back. It's Super Bowl day. But yeah, like he can play anywhere and he can deliver from anywhere on the field. Gotta love a player like that. But yeah, Bernardo Silva gets on the end of that Holland header, diving, stretching kick and equalizes the game for City. And after that, I'm thinking, you know what? That's a pretty fair result. Both of these teams had firm control, had multiple chances that they kind of wasted. They finally each took their chance. Okay, makes sense. 1-1 draw is fair. Then the penalty. And that's a pen every day. I don't know how you like. I remember like Alisson doesn't get the ball. Nunez gets the ball. Then Alisson takes him out. Now, yeah, Nunez was never really going to score. I think his touch was just completely, bad. Like it was trampoline touch right there. But it's a penalty every day. It's really hard for me to argue against it, and I think it's hard for any sensible football fan to argue against the fact that that's a penalty. Boom, Holland makes a pen, and I'm thinking, Liverpool can come back and score. Like that's how good they've been this half. But alas, it wasn't to be. Donnarumma had an incredible save at the end, off of I think it was a McAllister strike from the edge of the box, and it took like a weird deflection across Donnarumma's body, so he was going the other direction, and he has to come back and jump and get it like all the way up here. An incredible save. But look, well done by City. I think deserved 3 points, and this is also huge, obviously, for the Premier League title race. Let's talk about that a little bit because now we're at 6 points between first and second. I think it's pretty firmly a City and Arsenal race. Villa obviously drew to Bournemouth yesterday, so that kind of puts them a little bit too far out of it, in my opinion. But Arsenal and City, what's interesting here is Arsenal have a really easy, or at least compared to City, it's a lot easier of run in, I guess. Brentford have been great, for their standards, but Arsenal should be winning that. Wolves, Spurs, easy games. Spurs have been so bad. Chelsea might be a little bit hard. It's tough to gauge Chelsea for me because with Rossenior there, it's been really not even inconsistent, but the performances haven't necessarily been elite. But they're still a good team and they're still a really talented team. And outside of that Arsenal game, Chelsea haven't really faced like any top quality competition yet. So it's hard to really gauge where the team is. And then Brighton and Everton should be winning those games, right? But then you look at City's next few games in particular. I can't believe I clicked that. In particular, City have, Newcastle, which is going to be hard. But then, in particular, they have right before they face Arsenal in the Premier League, they have Chelsea. And I think having that back to back might be a lot. And I imagine there'll also be some UCL games in between this. I think the UCL quarterfinals. So that will also play a part. But yeah, I don't know if there's enough time for City, if I'm being honest. Right? 6 points, 13 games, it's doable. Right? Crazier things have happened. But if we're being honest, the Premier League is Arsenal's title to lose. It is basically in their grip. Even if you get to a point, where you lose against City if you're Arsenal, like I think you're so firmly in control, your destiny's in your hands that you should be winning. Like at the end of the season, match day 38, I am almost 100% sure that Arsenal will be lifting the Premier League trophy. That's how confident I am because just their position in the table, their depth of the squad, and City, to their credit, have kind of built a deep squad. Obviously, a lot of transfers and whatnot, but They built a deep squad, you know. But Arsenal have the deepest squad in the world, really, and they are in control in every competition that they are. Like they're in the League Cup final. You'd imagine they make the FA Cup final. The Champions League, they look unbeatable. Obviously, first in the Prem. They are the team right now, right? And yeah, I don't like the way Arsenal play. I think it's, not great for the sport to be so reliant on set plays. But regardless, winning is winning. You can't argue winning. You can't. You can't. So, look, what City, if City manages to win the Premier League, it's more than them winning the league. I don't even think it would be considered City winning the league as much as it is Arsenal bottling the league. So, and I don't think that'll happen for, I guess this will be the third time in 4 years that they would have bottled technically. Because obviously 22-23, they had like an 8 point lead. 23-24, they had a big lead too, I think. So, if you're Arsenal, third time's the charm. Gotta be. But yeah, I don't see City kind of overcoming the 6 point gap. I think it's too late, but we'll see. I think this win today was huge for City. Liverpool, if Liverpool won today, they would have effectively given the title to Arsenal, in my opinion. So this is the little bit of hope that City have. But yeah, I think look, do I think City's the best team in England? No. But sometimes you can still scam a title. And who better to scam a title than Pep Guardiola? I also want to talk about what this means for Liverpool a little bit because if you told me at the beginning of the season that by February, Manchester United would be top four and Liverpool would be sixth place, I wouldn't have believed you. If you told me there would be a 5 point gap between the two, I would not have believed you, right? But I don't know. Michael Carrick has Manchester United playing like Barcelona right now for whatever reason. Great for them, I don't know what happened because I thought Amarim was a great coach. But I just thought, it didn't work at United for one reason or another. But not only Manchester United's uptick in form, which is crazy, but also Liverpool's downfall might be even crazier. Maybe, I don't know, because United have been really bad for a while, but they're both crazy stories, and it's weird. Arne Slot kind of came in last year and felt like nothing had changed from Klopp, and now it's like Liverpool are struggling so heavily, especially after having their biggest transfer window ever. But I don't think it's too late for Liverpool, like as far as qualifying for the UCL, because obviously you only need to be in the top five. It's definitely obviously too late to win the title, but I think Liverpool can make top five. It'll be interesting, like the run in, especially because I still think Liverpool at their best can go toe to toe with any team in England. And if they can just find that bit of consistency and, get some wins and kind of roll and, stack them up and roll them, I think they can make top five. But it's just crazy that Liverpool are in this position right now. It's going to be tough, but I think it's doable. Run out of time. You're running out of time, though. I think I was saying this in one of my last videos, right? January is the last month to where you can be in trouble. After January, you gotta lock in. After January, it's like, all right, if you're not competitive, just chalk it. It's over. Your season's done. Just salvage what you can, but you're not gonna be competing. So for Liverpool, it's do or die right now. It's do or die. But yeah, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy Ali Footy. Le Classique later today. Shout out PSG. Oh, wrong side. Shout out PSG. You feel me? Ale Paris. But yeah, great game by the way. But from the Premier League, it's I found this like this weird trend where with the Premier League, it feels like sometimes the big games they don't deliver, maybe because both teams are too shy and they don't want to give anything up. I think it was Arsenal and Liverpool had a 0-0 or something like that. And I was like, man, like what's the point of watching Prem games? Like they're just so boring. But recently they've been great. Obviously United and Arsenal had that banger, and then now this crazy game. Which by the way, I didn't touch on this actually, but the ending of the City and Liverpool game, like what was going on with that? Like VAR like kind of went crazy. And I get the stoppage time, they had to add additional stoppage time, obviously, because they had to check the pen and you score a goal and people celebrate. You got to add time for that. But like, yo, like that's not really how I like my games to end. I would have even preferred if they just let that goal from Cherokee just stand. Obviously, there was some fouls in there and whatnot. But if there's a foul, here's my question actually. So in that VAR check, right, where Szoboszlai ended up getting that red card, obviously Szoboszlai fouls Holland first, and then Holland fouls Szoboszlai. But why not just play advantage? You know what I mean? Why not just does that count as advantage? I don't know. Like if the ball just rolls in, but obviously City was the one that was fouled, right? If City got fouled, but the goal happens for City, is that not advantage? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe someone can let me know. You know what I mean? It's important in terms of goal difference, right? Because you don't want to just be given, you know, invalid goals. Like that might matter. That might matter. That you know what I mean? If City were to win the league on goal difference and they got that goal and that goal they didn't get it, so it wouldn't matter. But if they got that goal and it was invalid, you know, that could be like a a title with an asterisk. I don't want to say a false title. On the other hand, what if that goal did have like reason to be valid? Then it's like, you robbed the goal from us, but they checked it, so I trust them, I guess. But yeah, that ending of the game was just kind of a mess. A little bit like this video. Or I'm kind of just talking about whatever. But yeah, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy Ollie Footy. Until next time, we